And Georgia Tech's a 4-point favorite on the road. Now, if you think about home field, generally gives you a couple points, right? Then perhaps they would be more like a touchdown favorite in Atlanta if you want to speculate that. You've had obviously with Colorado, we don't cover Colorado's closely, but I've been reading up a lot on them. They've done really well in the portal. It feels like they've enhanced their lines of scrimmage. Everyone's saying this is going to be Deion's best offensive line that he's had at Colorado since he's been there. But you lose Shedeur Sanders, of course, who had a great year last year. Like, we're talking about how he dropped in the draft
Yeah.
and the Browns and stuff. He was phenomenal. And then you lose maybe one of the greatest players we've ever seen in Travis Hunter. So I get that you brought in a lot of production, and I think the momentum is going in the right direction for the Buffs. But you lost two, once in a generation, and specifically Travis Hunter type of guy. So I'm just curious how this team looks without that type of leadership off the bat.
Yeah.
And then you've got Georgia Tech, Mac. They return everybody. Like, we had Brent Key on. We know he's confident. Haynes King, Jamal Haynes, Malik Rutherford. Like, the offense is going to be ready to go. The defense, I think that's maybe more the question, especially the secondary. But if Colorado's trying to run the ball more, that bodes well for Georgia Tech. So what are your overall thoughts here, Mac?
Yeah, well, I think it is fascinating just to kind of look at the Colorado lens for a second, because they did lose a lot. And you mentioned the two kind of headliners, but there's a lot of other pieces that, have moved on. And I know, you said what you said about they think this is their best offensive line. Well, it's 4 new guys, and that's hard.
Right.
It's difficult to, come together and figure that out. And we barely play real football anymore unless it's a game. Like, we don't practice the same. There's different rules in place. And, to have that, your first real test, be a team of this caliber in Georgia Tech, it'll be a we'll see. It'll be a we'll find out, type of party there. And, I think that, Georgia Tech just put out their depth chart the other day. I guess take all these things with a grain of salt. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I do think a guy like AJ Hoffler is going to be a baller, like transferred from Clemson, big guy, ready to make an impact at the defensive end position. Kyle Eifert, we know what we're going to get from him every single play. Just a guy that plays with his hair on fire. And then a guy that I didn't forget about because he's a great player, but it's kind of like you get lost in the sauce of everything else. Jordan Vandenberg is 3 different names there. The defensive tackle, he is a freak for Georgia Tech. Like, that guy is going to wreak havoc out in Boulder and be a really strong piece. And again, now that you have some edge guys around him, you can't just double team. You've got to slide different ways. I'm really excited for this Georgia Tech team. It's going to be a relative trend of the day here today. But offensively, I just think Georgia Tech's going to hit him in the mouth time and time again. And you look at this backfield. We talked to Coach Key. If you mentioned that, go back and watch it just to hear kind of how he's talking about. There's some subtle confidence. And you listen to him in Charlotte as well. Like, this dude's ready to go. And I look at that backfield that they have offensively that's led by Jamal Haynes. But then they went and got like 6 other dudes, or they feel like they have these guys really ready to roll on top of what I think you're going to get from Haynes King in his final form and his growth and development as a leader and player. So I'm really confident with Georgia Tech, KG. Like, I think these guys go in there, put on a show. They have been a really trendy pick for a lot of people as a sleeper team of the year, team that's going to surprise people. And I think they're ready to take that step. There's a lot of veteran leadership, a lot of excitement. And so when you go on the road, what do you need to travel with you? Running the football and stopping the run. And that's how physical I think this team's going to be, and something that I think they do well this year.
Mac, I tend to agree with you. I think the hype around Georgia Tech is real. This is a tough opener, though. Like, I think a lot of it relies, a lot of their season, it's just one game, I understand. But this could make a big statement for Georgia Tech in a lot of ways. You're going out to Boulder. I think the environment's going to be great. Night game. You've got the altitude piece. That part's interesting. It might be a situation where after that first drive, you feel a bit winded because you're playing at however many thousand feet. I do think it's interesting with Colorado, Mac. They have not named a starter at quarterback.
Yeah.
They have Caden Salter, the transfer from Liberty, who had a really good career at Liberty, like 56 to 17 TDI&T ratio. Very mobile, 1,000-yard rushing season in 2023. Then they have the big-time recruit in Julian Lewis. And it's college football, Mac. Like, you don't really want to tell your 4-star he's not going to play. So right. I've been seeing stuff. Pete Nakos, who we had on our show for Summer Guest Series, by the way, he has been reporting that they think that two are going to play, that both guys will probably play. So from a Colorado perspective, Georgia Tech has to prepare for both. That's tough. You're not quite sure what to expect. But you mentioned kind of the new offensive line for Colorado. You know about this, Mac. It's got to be tough. Game one, you're trying to gel, and then you've got different guys back there. So I think that's going to be a fascinating thing.
No, it really will. And again, you bring up Salter, a guy that was electric at Liberty. I mean, that guy was really highly coveted coming out of the portal. And
beat some ACC teams.
Sure.
If I do recall.
Seen that. I think it was, just kind of fascinating because I think that Julian Lewis maybe made his decision to go to Colorado, and then still, Caden decided to come to Colorado as well, transfer there. So it is fascinating how that kind of happens. What does it look like? Julian is a young freshman, so there's time. Like you can sit and learn and get the offense and maybe play. We'll see. But you also don't want to waste it. I want one guy. I'm a one quarterback dude, unless they're so dramatically different and we can't just have both sitting on the bench because they're both that skilled. And maybe that's the case. We'll find out. The good thing is we get to see really early. But that is an issue. And of course, defensively having to figure that out from a Georgia Tech perspective, having a plan for both, certainly what you need to be ready for and ready to go.
You bring up running the ball on the road. Georgia Tech can run the ball. We know that, especially with the health that they're going to have coming into this game. Colorado could not run it last year. 2.5 yards per carry, bad. They threw it all over the place. I know that's a big point of emphasis for them, but that's also a big question. Maybe that's why you go with Salter, use his legs. But I think the run game and which team can more effectively run the ball is going to be very important. Yeah. Let me throw a deep cut out here, Mac, before we make our picks. We know Georgia Tech went to Dublin last year and beat Florida State in an opener, which was huge. But this is crazy. That game was played in Ireland, right? So if you take out games played in Ireland, if you just say games played on U.S. soil, Georgia Tech has not had an season opening win over an FBS team since 2007 when they beat Notre Dame.
Yikes.
Now, I don't know how many seasons they've played an FBS versus an FCS. I don't have that.
That's a good point.
But it feels like you got to make a statement here. And then you flip it. Deion's been really good in openers. They beat TCU and they beat North Dakota State last year. So all that being said, Mac, we got to make a pick. I think Georgia Tech wins. Georgia Tech -4. I think if you think Georgia Tech wins, you probably just take Georgia Tech -4.
Okay.
I do feel like this game's going to be relatively close and especially interesting early on. I think that I think Colorado fans are going to be ready. I think it's going to be a tough environment.
Sure.
And Mac, as someone who has spent some time in Colorado, who loves the state of Colorado, I'm curious. We should have asked Coach Key when they're going out there, because I do think the altitude is somewhat of a factor, at least early on, maybe first half.
Yeah, we'll see. If they could figure out what to do in Dublin, I think they can figure out.
There's no altitude in Dublin.
I don't know. I've never been there. Never been to both. Yeah, never been to either one of them. I don't know. Sleep deprivation versus altitude. Which one's worse? Who knows? I don't know. Body clocks, all those things. True. I think they'll be fine. They'll figure it out. They'll have a couple of oxygen tanks on the sideline. Just
might need it.
Throw it. The NFL, you see those guys all the time.
When they play the Broncos.
What are we doing? Yeah, it's always when they play Broncos. It's so funny. I'm a little bit more confident, I think. I think Georgia Tech puts on a show, and I guess that's probably going to be a trend all day today. I'm such a ACC homer. It's so annoying. But I do.
Being confident in Georgia Tech I understand why.
I know.
I get it.
I know. And Coach Key, he doesn't really BS you. If they suck, he's going to tell you. He's like, we're not ready. And I just have gotten really positive vibes from him and confidence from him, from his players. And I think that matters. And I think that translates. And I can't wait to watch this game. It's going to be really interesting to see how captivating it is. And it's Friday Night Lights. So give me the Jackets. Wait. I think they win by a touchdown plus. I mean, I think they make some noise here and have a great start to their season.
It would be a huge statement for Georgia Tech and I think for the ACC.